to my cult. I do have a cult within all this nuttiness. It's like Bob ran a cult, and then another cult came in, and Bob found it quite entertaining. It's like embracing your enemy. Ian comes in, and he's dangerous, so I work with him, like the Rockefellers work with the mafia. Same thing. But we always did intelligence. We always invite our enemies to the table.
I'm going to watch the New York ball drop.
Hey, I just heard, there they are, the fireworks, Joan.
Okay, I'm going upstairs.
She loves that shit. I don't give a fuck about fireworks. I mean, it's so
Hey,
cute.
Happy New Year, Carolyn.
I have that go on in my fucking mind.
Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Oh, yes. Okay. What do you mean? What the fuck are you interrupting? No, that's incredible. I generally say, what are you fucking talking about, Happy New Year? I generally am puzzled by what you just did.
Yeah, you can hear it.
Open the door. Let them hear it, Carol.
Oh, yeah.
Hear that?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, they're going
We're at the end of the calendar. We're the last guys to have a New Year's. Almost. They're pretty big. Oh, did you notice that last set count? They spiraled off. That was interesting.
No, that's clear.
It's big.
Hey, good. We're broadcasting our New Year's. This is significant.
They look awesome. They look fantastic.
Aren't they awesome? Look at them. You guys, you're INET. You can see them, right?
Yeah.
2 red ones, a bunch of pink ones.
Green center, golden dots.
Little stars, big stars.
Yeah, it's only 12:01. Have they been going about 2 minutes? I think they start before 12.
No, they didn't.
Right at 12?
Yeah.
They go in a minute?
Where they launching from?
The Grand Walaya. Someday it'll be us leaping off, going into other dimensions. When we finally have that symposium where I'm in a robe we talked about last week. You guys are now listening to my wisdom, and I walk you upstairs and you leap off the fucking hotel. Redo the departure.
We're on a hill. We're on a hill above that whole area, so we're looking like my eyes are straight across to the
level of the explosion.
To the level of big red rings.
It's over the bay. It's quite nice.
Yeah, they have it on a barge. They put a barge of fireworks out in the water.
And where the barge is, last week, for like 4 days before Christmas, Larry Ellison, who owns Oracle, he's a billionaire, who owns the island across from the bay called what?
Lanai,
which was sold to him by Rupert Murdoch. He and his yacht sat in front of the beach at Grand Walaya for a few days for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's the rumor, that it was him. Now,
bunch of red and green stars.
Yeah, you see how they move around, Carol? They kind of they don't fall. They're motorized. They move into.
They fly.
They fly away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of nice. I mean, I've been up to Vancouver during the firework competitions up there, and they have, waterfalls and, huge landscapes of fireworks. So, yeah, I mean, this could be considered puny, but it's still fun.
Yeah, Carolyn is more normal than me. She likes basic stuff. She actually gets thrilled. She will go to bed early, and I have to wake her up so she can see the fireworks.
Sharp intake of breath.
Yeah, she's quite impressed.
No, I'm not. I'm allowed to like things. Look at Bob trying to be so superior.
I'm superior. I'm not
He can't
impressed.
even like anything. Poor guy.
Teenage spirit. Impress me. Entertain me.
Poor Bob.
I'm in the
That's
spirit
why
of Kurt Cobain.
Ion keeps saying Bob will become a pedophile just because there's nothing that moves him.
That's right. I have no emotions. I'll fuck anything that moves.
Well, they light fireworks on every occasion down here in Texas. So.
Well,
I haven't imaged that yet. You're in Texas.
Yeah. It's flat.
Well, is it like individual fireworks where they set it off in their backyard, or did they have a big ceremony?
No, it's individuals. They'll light it off for. Basically, in the South, they like lighting fireworks off. So.
Well.
Getting louder.
Mm-hmm.
How is it with your new ears?
Oh yeah. My ears getting clearer and clearer. It's pretty
The one that
awesome.
you couldn't hear so well out of.
Yeah, I had surgery on it.
Oh, you did.
Yeah. They drilled out the calcified little ear bone.
On the 50th anniversary, her ears went off in '66. So 50 years later,
When I met Bob.
Yeah, she met me. And, typical response.
Total biology.
Well, any other woman would want to go the other direction.
No, I had to have some mechanism to shut them off. Yeah, Bob, this is a fairly good set. Oh, wow, nice. Purple. I saw some purple. Okay, here comes the finale when it gets like this.
Phil and Sherry say Happy New Year on the board.
Oh. Phil in the UK and Sherry in New York.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Phil said, welcome to 2017, Bob and Carolyn. Glad you made it, too. Sherry said, Happy New Year, Bob and Carolyn and everyone. Wishing you all prosperous 2017.
Yeah.
That's inappropriate social contact. Make it be new. Make interaction, not the fucking social cliches. I don't need that kind of talk.
Isn't it all included?
Up to the Carolyn. Up to the Carolyn. Yeah, in times like this, you don't talk to Bob. Don't talk to Bob.
Cliche holidays. Bob will bring you down.
Yep.
Well, Bob celebrates the holidays. He buys great big sacks of chocolates and eats them for days.
Oh.
Wow, look at that. Look. Bob?
I saw that. They all went off in their own direction.
Yeah, do you hear the chocolate in Bob's mouth?
No, it's popcorn.
Oh.
Popcorn.
How do you respond to people
like
that you
little...
pass by on your way swimming that say Merry Christmas or Happy New Year?
I do
Nobody
happy.
says fucking Merry Christmas. They can tell I'm grumpy.
But
no one ever says it.
I tell. Oh, people are even yelling. Look, there's some nice stuff out there, Bob.
I'm watching it.
Yeah.
I couldn't take it unless I was eating at the same time, though. I'm bouncing it off with a real pleasure.
It's an exhalation of an expiration.
Right.
The holidays. It's an exhalation of an expiration. Yeah.
Right. I understand, little man. I say Happy New Year to them or whatever you're supposed to say.
You're doing your cover tune.
Sites. I don't need visual bullshit. I take dialogue with the little man and create stimulation.
Well, good luck with that. Whoa! There's some new moves here, Bob.
Yeah, I see it.
Mm-hmm. I wonder who puts this on. Maybe it is Mr. Oracle, since he's been around.
Yeah.
Usually it's some big group that's, bought out the whole hotel and then they fund fireworks. And what'll happen, and I think I don't know if I see it down there, but, boats will sort of drift near the fireworks so they can get a front row seat.
There's a big one.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, it's going on too long. Do you want to get back to your show?
No, I want to see the climax, which it seems to be leading up.
No, all of a sudden Bob's interested. Did you guys have fireworks in wherever you are? Oh.
Everywhere here, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was because
when we lived in New York, there.
Yeah.
Climax, Joan.
Yeah.
No, we hear it.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's blinding me, Bob. I mean, seriously, it's right in front of my face. And it's all kind of confetti, huge circles of confetti, all different colors. Coming closer, oh my gosh.
Yeah, they've upgraded the fireworks.
How do you know, Bart?
Well, just they use electronics now, and they can't just have them blow up and that be it. They've got to have them blow up and then spin and then make pictures and stuff.
Oh.
Hmm.
Well, how do they spin? How do they make them spin out?
They're putting more and more complex types of fireworks in there to make them. It's like
they even computerize them, for Pete's sakes.
Yeah.
They computerize them, Bob.
And they do like those dolls that fit inside each other. I'm sure.
Russian dolls.
Mm. Yeah. What do you call those?
Nesting.
Yeah, I'm going to watch some, look up YouTubes and watch some Vancouver fireworks. That's always.
Can you guys hear me munching?
Yeah,
Is that coming through?
I could.
Goodbye.
So Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year to you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
What?
Eliza was in New York. I was going to say, when we were in New York, I used to enjoy the fireworks there. It would be on the Hudson or whatever.
Yeah.
It was on the East River, Pelham.
Or the East River. Where was it for you, Eliza?
It's been on the East River, but I think over the past few years they changed it over to the west side.
Uh-huh.
That's because they have a leftist mayor, so he moved it over to the west side. It's the lefty side. No, really. The police have rebelled against. You probably heard about that, Liza. The police rebelled against the mayor, Mr. Blasio.
Oh, de Blasio.
You're too busy listening to Ion tapes to know what's going on in their neighborhood.
No. I get my info through here or at site.
Hmm.
Or on your Facebook now, since I've been on there lately.
Right. Do you like the Facebook page?
Yeah, I do. I got Facebook just because of your Facebook, so I can know what's going on. See what you post.
I was way more active than Dupes. Dupes is just Phil, basically, and a guy named Maximum.
I haven't been on Dupes since you guys changed it. Maybe once or twice, but
right.
I'm more on your Facebook now.
I go on there and respond to people, but there's a lot more going on. In-depth Ion Spectrum on the Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
That was it, I'm depressed now.
I think
the climax was
it
not
lasted
big enough.
It lasted 13
what
minutes.
The fuck? It was. Yeah, no, it was.
It was 12 minutes.
11 or 12 minutes.
Yeah. Which is long, actually. Usually they can only afford it for about 6 minutes. But, yeah, you could see everything through
I saw that same
the
thing
lanai.
you did. Yep.
Very good. Okay, I'm going to get ready for bed, guys. Bob will have to entertain you.
Yep.
Good night.
Put on some Ion.
We're going to play some awesome Ion.
Talk to the Ion.
Hey. Stay around and talk about it.
Yay, new information.
Yes. Thirsty. So, any wrap-up commentary?
I want to say I thought it was interesting that just from what you mentioned earlier that an Indian chief was asking you how to apply Bob knowledge to the tribe.
Yeah. Yes. That was this guy. Yeah. He still emailed today. He kind of stopped bugging me a few weeks ago. Now he's just sort of, I don't know what he's saying. Not much. He's just sort of showing up and saying hello. But he seriously wanted me to talk to him, and I tried to make connections, but he couldn't do it. You know, I was willing to talk to him on the phone, but it didn't get that far.
Yeah. And especially how the tribal thing fits in.
Yeah, he's like Broderick. He says, "You're great, awesome. I want our tribe to understand your movement. You know, you got something going here. Our people need this. We need ION."
That'll be the end of that tribe.
Yeah, then he kind of knows, no, this ain't going to work. I'll lose my status as leader of the tribe if I bring Bob in like he seems to be. And he says, "Well, Bob, we best leave well enough alone, Bob." It's between you and me, Bob. You're my secret buddy.
Yeah, we don't need to bring in the other people into this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't need to tell anybody in my tribe.
Yeah, no one needs to know we're friends.
Yeah, I get that a lot. A lot of people. You guys should look at this TV show, Close to the Enemy. It's interesting, about Project Paperclip. If you have time.
What's it called, Bob?
Beg your pardon? Close to the Enemy. CLOSE. Close to the Enemy. And you can see it on Popcorn or primewire.ag.
Okay.
Okay, so I think I'll play a little music to get ready. And
are you going to play Whipping Post?
Oh, yes. What do you think? That's a good way to end, right?
Yeah, we got to do Bobby Martin. He's
right.
awesome.
And then the other one was, did Roxy request something? There was another song. Inca Roads. Right, Inca Roads. Okay, so let's bring that up. It's going to be a late night for Bob. See, normally I'd quit 17 minutes ago, right? Go watch TV, but no. Yeah. I claimed I had something worthwhile waiting for him.
Just for the cliche year changing over, you've got to charge into the new situation for little man.
Remember, this is the great charge. I'll just play a bit of it. Like Zappa takes the crowd noise and he has to go. Wah, wah, wah. It's electronically altered. Have you heard that before, Michael? Is that your first time hearing it?
No, that is the first time. The first time I heard it when you started the show with it.
Good. It's pretty amazing shredding. I mean, he's
eats up the crowd.
How the hell did he get that sound?
You can hear the music crowd eating up. Yeah, and eats it up.
Eating up the crowd. And it's from Chunga's Revenge, one of those albums where it goes, he takes the cheer about 8 times.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get the beginning again. Then you stop it. And then maybe I go like that. Then restart it. Can't make it go. Effects stopped. Effects paused. Unpaused. I think I broke it. I never clicked the red side. I clicked the red side, Bill. I think I fucked up. Oh, look, Bill told me to call him.
When?
I don't know, many hours ago. No, maybe 20 minutes ago. Jeez, Bill, sorry.
Did you tell Bill that you were going to go all night? He probably thought you were going to quit.
Maybe, but he said never mind at 4:58. I can't make the thing go. I fucked it up. I clicked the red thing, and I just want to start it over again. Wonder how you...
Bob, that's playing as though you're playing it on a stereo in your phone.
Oh, there it is. Damn. Okay, that's it. See? No crowd does that, right? That's artificial.
No.
Yay, 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 yay. And he thinks
Well, it seems like a fragment is looping and amplifying.
Is he looping? You're saying he's looping?
A fragment.
It's like, you see how it repeats, clack, 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 clack.
Yeah.
That's a looping to do that, to repeat it.
Yeah.
You call it looping. But isn't it awesome? What a great takeoff. It just takes off. He just starts running manically somewhere.
Accelerates the loop a little.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
He's kind of bringing in his own audience, plus the audience there. He adds his own audience in the sound.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The audience gives the effect of a vortex.
Yeah. You all guys are very astute. Nothing much gets past you anymore. You know your Zappa. You know what he's doing.
What are you doing?
Like the drummer really knows how to do it. The drummer starts running, right? You go boop, boop, boop,
Yep.
boop, boop.
It's like in a relay race when the person is about to be handed the baton. Yeah, and he's got to run and speed up to the baton.
Right. The rushing of the crowd is the previous runner approaching the next runner. Then he hands it to the next runner, and that's when the drum starts speeding up. And then the guitar comes in, and the runner takes off.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, he is kind of turning into this like tribal experience.
What's turning into a tribal?
Play it again, Bob.
Yeah, when you
Oh, I know how to get back. You play another song. So there's a longer version. This is the same beginning, but it goes. The one I'm playing is 2 minutes or so, a minute and 3/4. This is 3 or 4 minutes, but I won't play the whole thing. But so we begin with this, and it has a bit more drumming before you get to the wind rush. I hadn't realized this is so appropriate to begin the year with this. We're running into 2017.
And when the crowd is going like that.
What?
You know, it reminds me when I'm listening to music and I'm playing with a volume, I put on high and low really fast. It has a dial.
Yeah.
And that's what the crowd reminds me of, as if Zappa's putting it on high and low really fast.
You see how he expertly ups the pitch by changing the sound timbre or something of the guitar slice? It becomes like higher. Just nicely, he has a certain chunk, and then becomes chunk. Then he goes, chunk. Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? No?
Yes.
Yeah. It keeps taking off.
It's amazing that they...
Yeah. He keeps taking off.
It's amazing how they start off just right. Like most bands wind up where Frank starts off with that cut. I mean, they're like high energy right from the word go.
That's right.
Right from the word go.
I started the fucking party at 3 PM my time, you know, right in the middle, right in the takeoff, right in the middle of it, or whatever. That we took off rapidly.
Yeah.
So it goes into George Duke. He had just joined the band. Phil's asking, who's cleaning their teeth? That was Carolyn. She was brushing her teeth before she went to bed. So that's a great song. I was so excited about starting off with this song. I told several people on Tuesday, listen to the first minute of Payday or hear something. And all it was just Frank taking off running down the street.
Yeah. What's the name of the song?
It's part of it's sliced in the middle, redone. I think it originally comes from Chunga's Revenge, but I got to look up the email that I sent to Bill to have it done, and he inserted it. I think it's like an old, updated version of King Kong, and then he inserted this from another older song from Chunga's Revenge. Something like that.
Okay.
Let's see. To Bill. Let's see. Yeah. Zappa's Call Any Vegetable. So he does this on 1971 concert in L.A. The album is called Just Another Band from L.A. This is great takeoff in Call Any Vegetable. But it's inserted in a later King Kong, which comes from the 1969 album Uncle Meat. So it's some mixture he made.
Have you asked Ian recently what Zappa thinks of your celebrating him on Payday? Or do you recall what Ian said?
We don't. No, I have not talked to Zappa about anything we've done because it just puts Ian into a bad mood.
There's another innovation of Zappa is that he uses the studio as a compositional tool.
He uses what?
The studio. As an instrument.
That's a major instrument, right?
Band, and that's like an environment. But then he has all the recordings that he
can play,
modify,
edit.
Mix.
That's why I say he's tactility. Painting in the 20s was visual space, great supernova of great art, painting. Then acoustic stuff in the 50s, 60s with rock music and rock and roll. That was the ear. Zappa was for the later digital Android meme phase of tactility. He makes music from a tactile position of sculpting virtual music and analog and everything. He's sculpting.
Yes, because just like pop art uses objects from the environment and makes them become the art. Pierre-Henri and Pierre Schaeffer start in the 40s making these environmental collages.
Right.
Of
Did you say Mozart? You start off with Mozart?
No, Pierre Schaeffer.
Yeah, Schaeffer. Yeah, the guy who we saw. You were shocked at how dumb he was with McLuhan.
Yes, he said, we are both mystics. And McLuhan said, no, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm hardly a mystic. I'm a subdini, said McLuhan. But what your point is that Zappa took from music concrete, the Schaeffer world?
Yes, but the electronic music in Germany and France was very complex, very abstract.
Yeah.
And he was using the studio as a compositional tool in songs.
And they weren't. They didn't get that far, right?
Yes, they also understood the studio as an instrument.
Oh, okay.
That the composer can play the recording.
Yeah.
Because you have different tracks and you can do these live electronic modifications, for example, of volume and effects, or you can play the same backward.
When We're Only for the Money came out in 67, he has a note on it. Well, it came out delayed 68, but he said, this is not electronic, this is electronic altered. What was surprising for people back then, that Zappa dared to cheat, to bring in electronic modulation, whereas most people were trying to be authentic, like Hendrix, trying to be authentic great guitarist and not fuck with it. Zappa didn't mind putting in fake modulated sound environments. You know what I mean? That's where he went further than most people.
And he also played the audience.
Yeah.
We would see him in concert where he would get certain parts of the hall to
do a move, stand up,
and a sound. But so I think at the beginning of that song, he was actually probably directing the audience. Whoa, 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 whoa.
That's interesting, but I don't think so. It's modulated. He speeds it up.
No, it's only for a few bars, so I think he just had the audience do it.
If he could do it live, he might have
It was a live concert.
Who was he playing to conduct them?
Are you kidding?
Yeah, he's roaring along.
Weren't you there?
No, I wasn't. I'm just using my imagination. But the thing is he did. You understand? You didn't even know this in '67 that he was daring to put in modulated, altered stuff, and everybody else was just trying to be a good drummer, a good guitarist, and they wouldn't allow themselves.
Well, he had
cheating.
A good reason. The players couldn't keep up with him.
Yeah, he made the music be what a player couldn't do.
Yeah, I cheated.
So
you cheated.
When? We're not supposed to talk about that.
People think I cheat by having supplements.
Well, how did we cheat?
I don't know how you cheated, Bob. You wouldn't know how to cheat.
How did you cheat?
By creating supplements.
Oh, that's cheating?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How can that be?
I'm supposed to be a purist and just tell people to eat good food.
Oh, and not commercialized.
Yeah. Okay, back to you, Bart.
I never cheated that way. I never went commercial.
No.
Always been for free.
Okay, Bart.
I was asking Bob if you're saying he modulated the audience, then that means that what you're hearing is not a live crowd. You're hearing his recording of the crowd, that he's playing for another crowd.
Yeah. Well, he's not playing it for a concert crowd. He just took the cheering of the crowd and made it introduce the takeoff.
Okay.
And woofed it.
Yeah.
And he woofed it 8 or 9 times. And he speeds it up. No fucking, he didn't conduct them like Karen's saying. He just took the recording and put it into the making of the album. The enhanced takeoff point.
It wouldn't be beyond Frank to conduct the audience, though. I mean, that works into his...
Well, he does, but not that way. That's too fast.
Not that one.
Ask Roxy. Right, he can't do that fast.
Definitely looped.
The audience...
He's looped it.
What? Yeah, he's looped it. You
like
can't make the audience do it that fast and speed up that efficiently. There's like half a second between each whoosh. An audience wouldn't do that fast. It's electronically modulated.
Trained.
Is that what you think?
Yeah, you'd have to train them to keep up with the drummer, perfectly with the drummer. So.
Yeah. But it is great. And that's what you'd be listening to an album, and he's going along playing good stuff, and then all of a sudden this artificial altering of the audience will suddenly go, oh, look at that. Then you get lost in the takeoff of the guitar. Awesome. I mean, he just had the guts to, he knew he was at virtual, he knew and accepted virtual reality. He didn't fight it.
Yeah, no, he played with it and sculpted it, or with it.
Yeah. And Beefheart is always part of the dialogue, and Beefheart said that he was a sculptor. He was a childhood sculptor, literally. He used to be part of a TV show with some art teacher. So he was a little kid genius, and he would sculpt stuff. And so Frank occasionally talked about his work being a sculpture. So they both used that metaphor, and that's tactility. Sculpture is tactile, says McLuhan.
And the, what's the word? Manipian.
Yeah, it's Manipian. He's attacking the audience, the sensibility of his audience. So he was Manipian. Even Don Thiel said we're only for the money, and Eric McLuhan said we're only for the money. It was Manipian satire. They knew that.
It makes...
And Zappa didn't know the term.
He didn't know it, but it just having these McLuhan insights applied to Zappa just really paint an even more sort of modern or Dobbsian portrait of Zappa.
But it also shows you the richness. It's a language for the richness of Zappa.
Your application
playing
of those
like
terms,
that.
Yeah.
Bart, can you imagine playing that guitar like that to thousands of people? That's a pretty powerful experience.
Yeah.
Knowing you're the best guitarist in the world and having fun with it, not being precious.
Yeah, how does it feel, Bob?
Yes,
you're doing it verbally.
No, that's very insightful there, Bart. You're improving, Bart. Bart.
You're on it, Bart. You're on it.
Yeah.
I'm on the clock. Is that what you said?
You're on the clock. What's that mean?
No,
You're not
it
being
did
paid,
sound like
buddy.
I'm being paid in further engagement.
In love, in frequency modulation of me.
Yeah.
My frequency is massaging you into a slight orgasm.
Super. Yeah.
The inner kingdom. Working up in the inner kingdom.
Yeah.
It's not as messy. Not as messy.
No, but your insights
are awesome. My insights are awesome.
Well, you've given
and not appreciated.
I'm trying to say they're appreciated and they're awesome. Yeah. You've lended much.
Nobody.
No what?
It's not appreciated where it counts in the official Zappa, McLuhan, or Zappa, or Subgenius website forums.
But it's appreciated with your audience, which is much more important than
the hoi polloi, the people here in this Hyde Park, the people who show up at the Hyde Park every week. And,
aren't you celebrating the audience?
Yes, I'm celebrating all of you. I appreciate you coming by, but still, I would like to win the Oscar. I would be like to
You don't want to become big, though, because that means that...
That's right. No, I didn't need that. Which Bob? Ask, which Bob are you talking to? This could be another Bob.
Which Bob is it?
Yeah, which Bob is it? The straight Bob.
The one that wants the what is the award? The Oscar.
Yeah, he's like Carolyn, wants mainstream recognition.
Hey, I resemble
I
that
thought you were
remark.
Yeah.
That was
Let's not talk about her yet. She's not unconscious. Wait till she gets like that.
She wants to go back to the mosh pit.
Yeah. So, what happened to Osborne? I think he had to drop off, right? Yeah, it's 5 in the morning.
Yeah, he said bye. He said bye in the group extension.
Oh, okay. And you, Eliza, you've been sleeping through most of this.
No, I've been awake. I just sound a little sleepy.
James Pusties on the chat says, "Is this 72, Bob? Jim Gordon on drums?"
I don't know where it is. No, I don't know. I can't remember where I got it. I did a few. I've got so much new Zappa material. I'm not up on what I'm doing and what I get stuff. I just said, oh man, I got to get that. So I excerpted and sent it to Bill to put into the machine, and I did another one. So I'm not sure where.
Yes, I dropped off, but I wanted to say that
yes,
Frank Zappa pushed himself creatively in every way he could, and not only in having a very good playing technique, but in using technology in innovative ways that in many cases he was the first to do and use many devices.
Didn't he have something made for him?
Many things.
He did. Yeah. He did everything. Everything was.
Many prototypes were sent to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Moog.
There was a guy
synthesizer.
The guy who had a microphone that could pick up stuff. Forget it. Kenny Schaefer. They wrote him up in New Yorker magazine. I met him in New York. He was part of the Nonlinear Circle. You could look him up. Kenny Schaefer, New Yorker. He invented the mic that could, back in the 70s, that could pick up from the distance or something. And he went to Frank. He knew enough about Frank to say, I want you to be the first to use this. Many inventors did that. They knew to go to Frank to get the best intelligent response. And someone who could really expand on it. He's a renaissance. That's why he's the hidden ground of everything in this world of synth rock.
Yeah.
And he took technology, like Roxy said, and he pushed technology to such a limit that he created for an environment that hadn't yet manifest, which, like now, we're saying in this Payday, one can only really pick up the sounds he was recording with the technology that's available now. So that shows his capacity.
When he broke up the convention,
he didn't conform to formats, for example, of the duration for radio or for the length of a song.
Right. Right.
And
he also took
he
these
had
new
this
inventions
freedom
and
to-
used them differently. He would use the new inventions differently. He would fuck with it, play with it, and create different environments that no one else would do. Yeah, go ahead, Roxy. What?
He was using polyrhythm or different keys that in traditional harmony are not to be put together.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
they're dissonant. But he will achieve very interesting results. And because he didn't have the limitation of following the rules of harmony and composition, or the concision for
really was,
the duration of his
He
piece.
was trying to make new sounds. That's the main thing. Experience, probe, and then advance the ear.
Didn't he want to make dissonant music on purpose?
Well, what he said, his formula was have some dissonance and then resolve it with consonance. That's the basic thing. He knew to work someone up with tension and then you resolve it with nice stuff. Dissonance becomes consonance.
That's a good point because the way that he approached it was such an affront to sort of convention that if he didn't have a plan sort of like that, he could have devolved into sort of what do you call it, performance art or something?
Yeah. That's right. He was being what McLuhan said the artist could be in the 20th century. He was programming the whole environment as his content, like McLuhan said the Pharaoh did. The Pharaoh programmed the whole culture. That's what Zappa was doing, programming everything as sound, and including everything, and including his interviews as another composition. But it's not a sound obsession. It's a sound obsession, but it's modulated by the maker, the sculptor, the tactile organ that's modulating sensory input. Remember, he did plays. He did skits. They're in some of the movies. The whole summer at Garrick Theater in '67 was a crazy improvisational theater plus music. He was doing mixed media. He realized what could be done. He realized the potential of the technology that was around. That's what.
He wasn't
said intelligence.
Yeah.
Here's someone who's blocked. Awareness, I think, said intelligence is using all the data around you to maximum. That's what he did. He used everything around him, and he first advertised in children's comic books.
Really?
Yeah, Freakout album was put in teenagers' comic books, just comic books. He put ads in there, seductive stuff. Hey, you feeling lonely? I'm not sure I've seen one lately, but they're in there in the record. He's teasing the kid to be seduced to buy the album.
Wow.
And it was probably such
he worked.
Yeah.
He worked in advertising in the early '60s. So he, like Warhol, you can say Warhol was a great artist in one way and detached, and so was Zappa, and they both worked in advertising. That's where they learned, because advertising was the real art of the 20th century, as McLuhan pointed out.
So that's what he was doing also with advertising. His band was also just creating, using a different medium to create a different form of art or media.
Yep. He was doing everything that McLuhan was talking about. He was writing?
He was writing the cards, the Hallmark cards, or he was working for one of those?
Yeah, he worked for a greeting card company, and he wrote lines or, part of the design of it. But I think he talks about a few of the cards he made.
And how they weren't well received. Watermelon
hay. Like that, or they caused problems. But there's an interview with him in 1967 in a New York cable TV kind of small show, and he spent the summer doing the Garrick Theater. He's just maybe We're Only for the Money, or he's just starting to get known, and I think he's nominated for a Grammy, an album or something sold well. So he says, the guy asked him, what's he want to do? He says, I hope I don't have to work. So he was still at the point where if the mothers didn't make it, he'd have to get a job. So his goal at late '67, before he really took off in '68, his goal was not to have to work, was to keep doing this. And it was touch and go in 67. They had to move to New York because they couldn't get any work in California. And then they did a lot of things in 68, 69, but eventually it was too hard, and he quit, broke up the group for different reasons. But he says partly he saw Duke Ellington begging money at a festival in the summer of 69, and it shocked him. It was this great fucking archetype, and the guy's bumming money from somebody. He doesn't have any money. But that's because jazz was in a nowhere zone. Just like when disco wiped out the blues world in the late 70s. Nobody was putting money into jazz. They were all buying Jefferson Airplane and stuff.
So did Frank go solo after 68 or 67?
He broke up the band on the weekend of Woodstock. He's in Canada, he's in Montreal, he was invited to Woodstock, but he said, nah, he wasn't interested. He'd been doing a lot of festivals for a year or two all over the place in the States, so it was just another festival to him, and he was busy in Canada, playing in Montreal, and then he played on the Ottawa TV station, like on the Ottawa weekend or the Monday after the Woodstock weekend, and right in there, Pauline Butcher, secretary, writes about it. If you put it together with her, they say up to recently, they say he broke up the group a week or two later, but if you read Pauline, it seems to be on Monday, the Monday of the Woodstock weekend. I'd have to go back and check it, but it's very close to Woodstock. And then, and what he did? He did two things. He created a solo album called Hot Rats, which was really one of his most successful albums, really put him on the map. He created jazz rock fusion. What's that called? Jazz rock fusion? Yeah, fusion rock or something. He created this great album with a bunch of jazz musicians and a couple of guys from the Mothers in September, October. Came out in October, the album. And then he went to a festival in Berlin, in Amougis, Belgium, not Berlin, Belgium, and he went as manager for Captain Beefheart. And the festival was all week long. There were a lot of great people there, Roland Kirk, jazz guys, and so he jammed with a lot of different bands, maybe even Pink Floyd, that week. But he was not there as an act. He was there as Beefheart's manager. And Beefheart's album, Trollmask Replica, which is considered one of the greatest albums ever, had just come out. Beefheart was getting all the attention, so he just let Beefheart bask in the spotlight for a while. Then he goes back to Christmas, early 1970. I'm coming to town in March, and I don't know what he then meets. Zubin Mehta, an L.A. Philharmonic conductor, on a radio show. You can hear the radio panel, and they start collaborating. So then Zappa says, "Why don't we get together?" Because the L.A. Philharmonic needed the youth audience; they weren't getting in enough money. So they said, "Oh, let's bring in the Mothers. That'll attract attention." So he arranges that for middle of May 15th, 1970, and he's going to do the soundtrack for his movie, 200 Motels. Meanwhile, he's got I don't know if he needed for money or he had to practice, but he put together a band called Hot Rats. And that was at March 7th, 1970, at the Olympic, famous old L.A. auditorium, big Coliseum. And Carol and I were up at Frank's, and then we went to that concert. So it turned out we saw the first band to come out of the Hot Rats album called Peaches and Regalia. Is that what it's called? I think so. And he took some of the musicians from that and some of the Mothers and performed in Olympic Auditorium. And so we were at that. You can get that on bootleg. And then he practiced, rehearsed, and presented himself with the LA Philharmonic, which you can hear. It's a tremendous concert. Not perfect audio, but he entertained. It gets bad reviews all over. It's written up in Playboy magazine. Basically, the press about it's really bad, but you actually hear the concert. It's incredible. The orchestra's having a good time. He's having a good time. And backstage, he meets the two ex-Turtles, Howard Kalin and Mark Volman, who are a big, famous L.A. pop band, and they had gone to the Philharmonic concert, so they meet him backstage, and they get talking, and pretty quickly Zappa says, "Oh, why don't you join our band?" So he puts them in the band by June, and they start touring, and they bring their really good voices, pop voices. So it makes a different kind of music, plus comedy music. And they had fucked many groupies. Howard Kalin, I think, one of them. I don't know what the other guy, but he writes about this in his book. It comes out recently, 40 years later. But they had all kinds of great life on the road because they were a top popular band at the beginning of the groupie phenomenon. So they took a lot of their groupie stories and it became this comedy act. And a lot of people hated it. They said, Frank has gone childish, all these stupid sex jokes. But he, again, adapted his band to the people that were in it. So he made a different kind of music. He did that for a year and a half, and then he got thrown off stage a few days after his performance caught fire in Switzerland that Deep Purple wrote a song about, Smoke on the Water. That's December 1971. And then he's laid up for a year. And the Turtles, then, they're not part of it, and then he starts making jazz music, or rock jazz, with the Grand Wazoo.
Apostrophe, right?
And then no, that's a couple of years later. That's 74. This is 72.
Oh, okay.
He's in a wheelchair with his leg in a cast, and he's brought in all these top jazz musicians, and he makes a jazz rock fusion album. It's very unique. And he makes two of them. Then, in 73, he puts out an album called Overnight Sensation. He's ready to go back on the road, and that starts to have rock songs. So he drops the jazz thing. And then the next year, in 74, he does Apostrophe.
Yeah, James...
So it's just endless creativity.
Says he stole the latest ideas, like...
Oh, James saying stuff? I should go read that. What's fucking James saying? He's got a counter dialogue going on, countering what I'm saying? Jesus
so he's
Christ, you can't have fucking authority anymore. What's he saying? Don't forget to floss. What? Don't forget to floss?
That was Carolyn's
steal the latest ideas, i.e. fusion from... No, Mahavishnu comes in after. We talked about that hours ago. He saw what Mahavishnu was doing. He started jazz rock. They just bring in Miles Davis's Bitches Brew, but around the same time, and Zappa was already doing it with the Mothers. So he just brings in particular jazz musicians and writes these songs no one ever heard in a whole different style, and that's Hot Rats. Comes out in October 69. Then a year or two later, Mahavishnu starts running around, and he sees them, and he just makes new material within the jazz rock thing, translating them. And he's read about that, so don't fuck with me, James. I know the history. He didn't steal ideas. He looked at what was going on, mirrored it back, and took it further than anybody that was doing stuff. He'd take it further.
Yeah, that reminds me of someone.
Push it. Yeah, me and Ion. And Roxy. Of course, Roxy was doing this to Stockhausen and everybody in school and university. She was a Menippean in university for 20 years, right, Roxy? Don't know if she's still there.
I'm still there. I'm still doing it.
Yeah, you were a Menippean in school, in the arts community, right? Making costumes.
Yes, too.
And playing music.
And taking courses and getting disappointed by every class. Just wasn't making it. So she started making costumes.
What sort of costumes?
No, I was making costumes to make a living. And I spent all the money on programs and devices.
Oh, I'm making technology, making electronic music. You were composing.
Yes. Yes, but I actually made my living by designing.
The costumes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was her basic talent. She learned, in high school and art college. She was a designer for shoes at the beginning in a factory in Mexico.
Yeah, for Bali of Switzerland.
What?
I'd like to, yeah.
What'd she say?
For Bali of Switzerland.
Bali, the shoe store?
The label.
Shoe mark label.
Yeah, isn't that a Canadian store? Bali or something?
Switzerland.
Switzerland.
She was making fine Swiss attire.
Was that what she said?
No, shoes and
shoes.
Accessories.
Well, what's the word Bali?
Bali's the label.
It's a brand name.
Oh, how do you spell it?
Pally.
Oh, okay. That was their factory. Why were they in Mexico?
Many factories are in Mexico. Haven't you heard, Trump?
Yes, yeah, you guys are a colony. That's right, slave society. Is that right? You got all these. Everybody exploits Mexican labor.
It was next to the Nike factory, Bob.
Yeah, yeah. Dobbs was down there, I think, but it was a hands off. I didn't. I let management run their own shit. I was so busy trying to write music so that I could play with Frank.
When you started playing keyboard, Roxy, or music, you were around. You were in your late teens.
Yes.
No,
I 10.
I started playing violin when I was 8.
Oh, okay.
And in the music conservatory,
and she would go down into the street, and she would play in the street and busker at age 8 and 9, right? Busker is our word.
Yes, but let's talk about Zappa.
Yes, that's right. Roxy, she did. It was a disastrous career. It went nowhere until she met Ion, and now she's inspired to do something better art.
No, I was just curious. The synth pop was.
Well, don't be curious. None of your business.
Yeah.
None of your fucking business.
Yeah.
But no, you did it. You
brought Roxy up, so I'm asking Roxy questions. What do you want?
Yeah, that's right. Me too. I'm joining with Bert. Fuck you, Roxy. We're going to find out. Did you do busking on the street? You did it on the street, right? You'd play the violin in public a little bit and get some coin.
Yes, I had a friend from Chile. His name was Ariel, and we were the only two in the violin class. And sometimes we will just practice on the street and get some money, and we will go buy things. And it was fun.
And then you got into the electronic gang when you were 11, and then hung out with them, the older.
Because the electronic music studio in la Escuela Superior de Música in Fernández Leal in Coyoacán. My violin classroom was on top of the electronic music studio.
Right.
So every time I had
to
go
and
up,
listen.
I heard these wonderful.
That's what I was getting at.
Answers that were
she had
very,
a
very
precocious environment. Yeah, and she would listen to them. And then they invited her in, and then she joined. Then they ripped her off. They stole money from her and bought all this equipment and let her pretend she was part of it.
No.
No, but I heard some of the music. I like that.
All my friends composers are still my friends. They're really wonderful.
All those older guys, those Gurdjieffians, the Gurdjieff cult.
Yeah.
And you would play keyboards, right, Roxy?
Yeah.
I was just...
and she sent me some pictures of her when she's 17 with her first band, 15, 16, 17.
I watched some of the videos. Yeah.
Well, you would hear the videos. There's no visuals in them, right? Of any.
There were.
Really? There's pictures of her?
A while ago, you or she made those.
But that's in the 90s. That's in 2012. And she's playing in a band. Anyway, she sent these pictures. Right. She had a band, and it was called Secret Agents. It was very ironic.
And I'm noted that Ion said to Roxy recently they gave some guidance on playing, which I thought was cool.
Well, they gave me guidance on everything. It's really amazing. Even they saved my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
They even saved her life. Yes.
Well, that was half you, they said.
Yeah.
Okay, we can talk about Zappa if you want.
Legend. She was the first, women doing the synthesizer. First, I don't know, maybe there's other women in the bands, but she stood out. And she's a legend because those 2012 interviews, the DJs say, yes, there was Roxana. They remembered her from the 20 years before.
Well, the keyboard, for synth pop, the keyboard was
articles on her.
center.
They showed me magazine articles on her, Bert. She showed me
I don't doubt it.
articles on her. Yeah. She was a mysterious Illuminati bitch. It was.
Yes, it's fun to be an Illuminati bitch, really.
But she had to do all the work. The band would be too busy smoking, drinking, or picking up groupies, and so all the males, she'd be plugging in the equipment or unplugging it after.
Yeah, taking care of the cables, the things don't get lost.
You could have gone into Zappa's studio and helped them. You knew enough about all the cables and what they did.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it's hard to have a synth pop band with no electricity.
I had to carry my own equipment, connected, disconnected.
And after 5 years, that became a drag. So she became an anthropologist. And then those guys took her out, and then she
I stopped here in Berlin because once I had to take my equipment and it was snowing, and the snow was up to my knees.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, no, I don't want to do this anymore.
That happened in Berlin, not Mexico.
Yes, because electronic music is more a studio thing. Now you can have your studio in your cell phone. Like, I use Ableton.
Snowing where?
That's
what did you say? Where?
It's snowing where?
In Berlin.
Berlin.
Oh. Wow.
And so that's when that was being a club band. You had to take your equipment to the nightclub, whereas you didn't do that in electronic worlds. What Roxy regrets now? She feels sorry. She dragged her parents to all that absurd electronic shit, and they had to sit there and listen to it. She now realizes, holy shit, I really put them through hell.
Yes, and all my friends.
Right, Roxy? Yeah, and your
they
friends.
would come to my concerts just like to be there, but
yeah, for her to her beats and bonks and boips.
Yeah.
You can see the world of electronics you were gauging in the 80s and 90s, all obsolesced by what Zappa was doing, right? He was on a huge level that your world wasn't even near, even though you were taking courses doing university approximations of it. Zappa was way beyond, wouldn't you say?
No.
If you had been aware of Zappa back then...
No, I was aware of Zappa, but I was into even more abstract music, like...
More abstract. But Frank did include abstract. It's just that he wouldn't just stay there. You stayed in the abstract zone. And rang it dry. Wrung it dry.
I don't know why. I just love synthesis. And I remember the first time I pressed the keys of a modular synthesizer, and I didn't expect the sound that came out of the speakers, because you have these keys, and you think it's going to be like an organ, and then the crazy sound came out, and I was like, whoa!
Outer space.
I think it's something electronic composers like to get this high from the sound.
Yeah. So you stayed within the experiment.
We go like you look into a microscope. We work with the envelopes and other parameters of sound.
Right. Like Gary Newman.
Yes,
and cars.
Well, they're more mainstream, but yeah.
So you were doing what Zappa's doing. You wanted to hear new sounds.
Yeah. And that started when I was 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had a LP player, and I had some how do you say, stories for children with music. And I saw this painting from Remedios Varo, and I knew that story must be great and the most amazing. And I asked my mother, that was in the newspaper, who is this? What is this story about? And my mother
Remedios
said,
Varo, the artist. Yeah, Remedios Varo.
So I decided to make my own version of what that world will sound.
Yeah. That's pretty neat. 4 and 5 years old.
I was always fascinated by all these descriptions. For example, the siren singing. I will imagine in my head, how will that sound be? Or the magic flute of Pan that even the gods allow him to live near them. I will imagine in my head, what is this like, the music? And
you were
there are
like
many
looking
stories.
for the otherworldly sounds.
Yes, I don't say I'm from this world, but maybe I was trying to remember that I am from this planet. Because I told him I always felt like weird. Maybe I'm from somewhere. And he said, no, you're from this planet. But yes, there are many myths where they talk about these amazing, fantastic sounds. And I always was trying to...
You tried to hear the world of myths.
These sounds. For example, in one painting of Remedios Varo, there is somebody playing sun rays like a cello.
Yeah.
So I programmed how will that sound be, like light. That
you
is also
programmed?
like
you had a synthesizer at age 4?
No, that was later.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's something that will turn me on, to
right.
To try
you were
to
basically composing with a violin. You were trying to hear the music on a violin.
No, just in that case. But in that case of that instrument that is sound raised, for example, you can have envelope of strings of cello, and then I will add other envelope of another synthetic sound that for me was light. And then
but this is later with a synthesizer. Are you talking about working with a synthesizer?
Yes.
Well, how old were you when you did that?
That project was like 94.
94, so you're 15, 16 years old. So that's when didn't you see the Remedios painting when you were 4 or 5, or when you were 15?
Yes, but that was something that really impressed me.
Mm-hmm.
So when did Pauline Oliveros or Zappa come into your experience?
Awareness.
Yes, when I was 11, because I was in the violin class, and to go to my classroom, I had to go by the recording studio of the School of Music. And they have these modular synthesizers, and I will hear all these sounds that came from that laboratory. And so
it had to be like magic.
Earlier and ask them if I could just sit there and listen. And at the beginning they will not allow me, but I will go every day. they allowed me to come in.
How long
But
was
then,
that? How long did you listen? Did you listen for 3 months, 3 weeks? How long did it take before they invited you in?
no, maybe like a month.
Yeah.
Because I can be like really stubborn when I want something. I'm like, no, nothing can stop me.
Right.
And I was telling them I want to learn how to use these things. And they told me, you have to be a composer, a mathematician, a programmer. And I said, yes, I want to learn. Just tell me what I have to do. But no, they sent me to the Gurdjieff composer. He had like a private
one
school.
guy. Ah.
Yes. And then there I work with other composers, and we will listen to music together. No, because his family is very wealthy.
Mm.
We never had to pay any rent or anything. He had a wonderful house in a neighborhood called Colonia Condesa. So it was
And
really...
that's where you heard Zappa? Listening with the group there?
Everything.
You played Zappa?
Everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
Everything.
How long did that experience last?
Very lucky.
Composers will come there and record, and we will share music. And it was really
special. You were lucky. A very special, precocious situation for yourself.
Not really. In many ways, because there were, like, for example, Mario La Vista.
Yeah.
Or other very well-known composers in Mexico, and they will come with their records and make some musical analysis of the latest contemporary music.
And you would sit there very young, and you were equal to the conversation? You could contribute?
Yes.
You didn't stay quiet. You weren't just a little kid.
Yeah, when I first met the Gurdjieff guy, I had done something for the Mexican TV. Like, I knew somebody who needed extras, and they asked me to do something as an extra, and that was like the first money I earned. So I went to a bookstore where they had classical music, electronic music, contemporary music in Coyoacán called El Parnaso, and there was like a section, electronic music, and I bought all the records.
Wow.
And
you
I would
were
listen
an
to this thing.
extra actor. You acted.
Yes, I could spend all the evening with my headphones listening to this crazy music.
Mm.
So when I went to see the Gurdjieff guy, he asked me, okay, what type of music do you listen to? And I was like, oh, I like Stockhausen and Cage. And he was like, you what?
Right. He was amazed.
What did it even? Well, I have this Pierrot Ludner.
Lumiere, yeah.
Some, like the records I had. So he said,
not Madonna.
Okay. I was never into mainstream. I never watched TV or Hollywood movies or
radio.
I'm very ignorant about popular culture.
You would have been a genius and had an audience maybe in 1910, but you're up against the Android meme and you're quite talented. But there's no place to go, really, then to do this specialized world, unless you went to Hollywood or something.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. She sort of there was some sort of creation compulsion that just manifested those circumstances.
So if you were 11, that's 79, 80, 81, when you're doing this.
Yes, and at the same time, I always had this this need to know about the mystery landscape, and many of these composers were also into the mystery landscape.
Yeah.
So for me, it was really the best environment.
Yeah.
How long did that last?
How long what?
That study group.
How long were you in that situation?
Until I came to Berlin.
Wow.
And that's 15, 16 years later. So when you had your band, Secret Agents, at the age of 16, were you still hanging out with the Gurdjieffian guys while doing your band?
Yes, I had different bands, and I was also doing more abstract things, installations, and all the festivals that are in.
You were doing Zappa on a micro level. You were doing pop music and classical music. You know anybody else who was doing that? Did you ever meet anybody who had a similar experience? Well, no, they never had the Gurdjieff thing, but did you meet anybody who would do pop bands and electronic stuff? You ever meet another woman anywhere who did that at that age?
Well, I think all the younger composers, they all like also rock and roll or rock, progressive rock, and other, not only electronic music or classical music.
So there would be other people like you in L.A. or New York City, had that opportunity to do something like that.
Yes, I think many explore also jazz.
Right. Did you do jazz?
No, but my husband did play jazz, piano.
Yeah, later. Did you go to his music and watch him play?
Yeah, he practiced at home every day.
So basically you were in a musical environment all your life.
Yes.
At least first 20 years, 25 years.
With that interesting twist to sort of pull the otherworldly into the world, as opposed to a lot of conventional musicians who just want to write, a hip-hop love song or something, or ballad or whatever. It seems like Roxy had more sort of different motivations.
Yeah, she was not she was a rich Illuminati bitch. She didn't need anything. No need to make money. But what's interesting for
I was
me
just
is that
entertaining myself.
Right, you could afford it. Now, what interests me is that you got rung. What? What'd you say?
I was entertaining myself until I show up and told me report up.
Well, what's interesting is that you wrung yourself dry. By 2010, you were exhausted, bored with the scene, nowhere to go. And I talked to that person. And that person, who was very down, I thought you were someone, you could have been a secretary who was interested in classical music and went to the artsy events like any a non-talented person in New York. What do? They go to culture and art activities. That's the way you sounded to me. But that shows you how down you were. She sounded totally, I thought this person would like to be an artist but has not the ability, but goes to concerts. That's the way we talked a bit about it. But my image of her was so off to what we just heard,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's how wiped out she was. She was basically suicidal.
When I don't know the person, I am very hermetic.
When you don't know a person, you're shy.
Yeah. It's like, not shy, but just like, I have no interest in sharing things or...
Yes, you did not share anything. You're very reluctant to speak. And But it also showed me how you were, quote, suicidal. You were in a bad way that year.
Well, you know, Bob and Ion, you guys have been like the ripcord for a lot of people. Or
no,
just
you agree, Roxy? You were in a bad way, very depressed, and not excited about life at all or creating at that point.
Well, I don't think I was ever like depressed.
Well, I mistook her privacy. I mistook her privacy for depression. It maybe was just she didn't tell you anything. She was an Illuminati bitch. You wanted to talk to some jerk, you know, about anything about herself. Princess.
Well,
no, and at the beginning, it took me really a long time to listen to Ion and believe it or know that is not just a cult or some, because it was entertaining and fun.
But that's why you never were going to participate publicly until you really figured out whether it was justified or real. So you took a long time studying it. See if it was real.
Yes, like I needed that. Like my man needed to understand how the drops work.
Yeah.
And that makes sense too. The cerebral aspect of you, Roxy, being stimulated in that musical environment you were in with the teacher and that group, and you're sort of probing intellect that you've had with Bob and Ion. When you're sort of, it seems like when you're sort of cerebral like that, it's got to work its way through a little bit more when you first engage on it.
But there is a side that is like intuition, that you know is true.
Yeah.
But the mind is really there, like, this cannot be.
Yeah. Carolyn was the same way for her first year. I was halfway there. Halfway skeptical, but not really. I didn't care whether it was real or not. It was good enough to be entertaining, so to speak. It was entertaining to me. I said, this will make great radio. I was a producer in Missouri looking for new talent. I said, this fucking guy, this southern cracker, he's fucking entertaining. I can make millions off this guy.
You put him on the air almost immediately. I was astounded.
That's right. I put him on the air immediately. I was like Zappa when he saw Bobby Martin.
But I think
the show on the road.
10 seconds, and you sign him up.
What you call depression is not depression, but this confusion many have. Like somebody said today, they have read a lot of books, and there's a lot of conspiracy, and many things don't really make sense.
That's Cha. That was the first one, which was a good interview. It was a good newbie exchange, right? Very honest.
Very good.
And very revealing of what everybody goes through.
Mm.
And then you can see her delight when I was funny, her genuine delight, which is the appealing part of Ion.
I like Ion that he was not spiritual, mystical, New Age.
That's right. He wasn't.
And neither is Bob.
David Wilcox cliches.
Bob telling Ion to shut the fuck up, on early cash flows.
You work for me, buddy. Fucking be funnier. Stop alienating people, Ion. Stop criticizing. Be funny.
But they also were saying things that expand your possibilities. Yeah. What you even dare to think is really possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I always knew.
And then we heard it with that woman.
Saints that they had these superpowers and all this because there were some nuns in my family that had some abilities.
Yeah.
And for me it was like normal. Like I could accept that. But I had the frustration that I want to develop all these spiritual gifts And maybe you start thinking, maybe that's just a fantasy, or I am too idealist, and Ion was talking about these things, like it's not something special. It's something very natural.
That was new. Talking about it as if it wasn't special, as if it was not special. You know, this Cha, you're making me think of Cha. She touched on a lot of archetypal ionic phases, like she gets surprised by what Ion said, get delighted, then she'd have genuine confusion, and Ion would say something amazing that would impress her mind. He really touched on different parts of a neophyte engaging Ion. A lot of it was demonstrated.
Yes, and most of these things, I don't even look for them. I'm looking into something else, and they just appear really weird.
Yeah.
They run you down.
And I can see there is like a sequence, and it's really a lot of information, a lot. When I have the chance to ask Ion, it's just like little pieces. Like sometimes I don't even know where to start, because it's like, okay, the Nazis say they had contact with the Canaanites, and they went to get...
And you go, well, the Duke of Bourbon. He'll say, check with the Duke of Bourbon. And you're trying to talk about the Nazis in Berlin, and he's saying, well, go...
No, but sometimes...
Barbershop.
There is something I already read, and they say a word, and I know what they're referring. So maybe for other people, it doesn't make any sense, but for me, it's making sense.
Yeah. He knows what you know.
Yes, and they have done things that really impress me, like they know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
What music I'm listening. And sometimes now I even ask them, just like, I want to know this, and things do appear.
Yes.
You mean you ask him at home, not on Payday. At home you ask him.
Yeah, sometimes I'm biking and I'm thinking things, and I'm like...
Yes.
I need to know this, and it shows up.
Yep. It happens to me also.
Yes, and some things that I knew about, like all these stories about the Nazis. I live in Berlin. But they tell you they were just superstition. And I live in Germany since already 22 years, so it's like how these very, very rational people, all this country, all those scientists will be all into the superstition.
Yeah.
Like, of course now I know it is not fiction. They really had the technologies, and they really had the mediums, and there's an institute of the heritage of the ancestors, the Ahnenserbe, and they documented everything.
Yeah.
What was the name? Roxana?
Ahnenserbe. You know, the Ahnen are like the ancestors, and the Erbe is the heritage. So they did expeditions everywhere, and they were a lot in Spain. And for example, I wonder, why did they allow Franco to stay in power until the 70s? And all the other fascist regimes were stopped, but many Nazis went to Spain.
Yeah.
And there are many legends that there's a lot of objects from Solomon and the ancient races that are there. And now I was looking into the Basque language, the Euskera. And it's really fascinating how all these things have been studied. There's really very serious people studying all these things. And the only way to connect them is with Ian, what he's saying about the tribes and the Bible and and parallel worlds and how there is no linear history because there's a lot of anomalies.
They all fall under what Ion's completing, so that makes sense. The mystical and the advanced technology, all of that falls under the. I guess I don't know if you say the purview of what Ion is completing, which is basically all of that.
Yes, and Bob's chart is really like a guide to start exploring, doing your own explorations.
Yes.
And I'm just reporting on my own discoveries, but I'm not even really looking for all these things. And sometimes I see, for example, I read some news, and I see 11, or I see the red, the black, and I know these are like different teams, and it's very weird how now I was telling Bob, I see some symbols, or I see some numbers, or colors, or something in the news, and I know it's not about the news. But these numbers they're telling you are already giving information about these different fractions, like 13, 11.
Yeah. Well, it's like your entire environment just becomes, you're noticing anomalies, but your entire environment just becomes a reflection of your deityship, or however you want to say it. It's like, all of this, it's all simultaneous, and it's just reflecting you back to you, basically, or they're the breadcrumbs, or however you want to say it.
Well, I think some of these things are ways in which Ion answers some of my questions.
Yeah.
Some things I want to know, like how come I see something and I know this is this, or this is related to that, or like how? And what they say in the Kabbalah, that your blood or your skin or your organs translate information. Or, for example, the mediums, the Nazis mediums, they had very, very long hair to the floor. And they say the hair is like an antenna, and they could get the messages from the Sumerian Canaanites because they had very long hair.
Yes. They've got a UHF antenna hanging off their head or whatever.
Yes, and the thing is, they were really retrieving technologies that work. So it's not like they're just crazy.
Well, that can translate into your fractal antenna, your cells, or the antennas in that regard. And you've taken over the task of answering your own questions. You're just
well. In Kabbalah, they say everything is recorded in the human body. You have all the knowing in the world. That's why our proportions are golden mean, and the golden mean is imbued in everything in nature.
Yeah.
There is a knowing, this autonomic knowing that you're retrieving from this information that is recorded in your molecules, in your atoms, in your cells. And you may not know, like I was saying, Zappa didn't study music, but he was a composer. It's like you can learn things in different ways that may be that are not conventional, but you start retrieving the autonomic knowing.
Right. It's kind of like your drive to pull something from the other or the other place or whatever, however you want to say that with your music. That was a drive that's maybe moved into or evolved into this. You're actually drawing it through you or to you or however you want to say it. It's responding to that.
Ian says everything is about frequency. That the only way to ascend is through frequency, and how things get together through frequency similitude, or what's the word he uses?
Similitude? Affinity? Sympathy?
He uses another word.
Yeah.
But yes, sometimes I think, how come all of a sudden you get to know a bunch of people, and then all of a sudden these people disappear from your life, and other people come. Or I have this friendship with Bob that lives in Maui.
Yeah.
And we can talk about this crazy stuff. And it's like, yeah, well, come.
But that the answers arising when the questions arise, that dynamic was something that I had mentioned very early on. It's like the solution arises when the problem arises. The answer arises when the question arises. It's like you have stopped. You've gone from like a crude, sort of rudimentary way of that process, trying to do it like through effort, to by default having it just take care of itself. The auto wash, like the auto wash aspect, it just shows up for you, and your environment ends up informing you. Like you said, without even looking for it or wanting it or trying for it, maybe. It's like your switch is flipped on, your antennas are switched on, or whatever it is, and it's all been made available.
I have a question for Roxana and Bart. How do you guys relate to your coworkers? With all this information we're being exposed to with Ion and Bob and Dr. Dean, how do you relate to your coworkers?
Well,
yeah, very.
In my case,
I want to hear how Roxana.
Sometimes I'm looking at the floor, at the ceiling. You know, and they ask me, what are you thinking about? And I'm like, okay, did you know the Nazis were retrieving information from Samaria? And then they go like, wow, that's very interesting. And I say, and it's not fiction, it's true. And they're like, whoa.
Yeah, do you want to make these copies for me, or get these copies for me? Yeah.
No, I think like entertaining. They're like telling me, "Oh, I always learn something from you."
that may be Bob's approach.
How she started. Note how she started. She's staring at the ceiling, and they wonder why she's always staring at the ceiling. But she's thinking about all this information, so she then pretends to have a practical answer to that she like what she tells them she's thinking about is not what she's thinking about.
Or maybe she's not thinking; she's just in ecstatic bliss.
Yeah,
and she has that's her cover story.
And the thing is, like, almost every day there's something new. Like, if Bob calls me, I can report something else. Like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, how do I know all these things?
But do you feel you have to hide? Do you feel you have to hide a little bit, start to hide? I mean, as far as if you're dealing with people on a regular basis, like at work, it's almost you have to hide a little. So you just quote or say just random things like, hydrogen's increasing and the environment's going to change. Don't drop that on them or something, do you?
Yeah, sometimes I do.
Yeah, I'm starting to do that as well. I'm starting to do that as well, but they look at you like you have 3 heads and your spaceship's parked in the back parking lot. They really think you're really strange, but it's fun to do that, just to mix it up a little, because most people are really fatty, especially around this time of year.
But I never do it in a way that I'm trying to convince anybody or I'm preaching, or I'm just, like I said, reporting. Because I hate people doing that to me, trying to convince me of something.
Hey, Bert, your environment is more macho men, right, Bert? You got macho men.
Yeah.
Roxy's got nice women,
nice women,
civil servants kind of people. You can't. Bert has to be more careful than Roxy.
Yeah, I do. I do. I have to hide in plain sight. Huh?
Yeah. Roxy doesn't. She's just got a bunch of lonely, divorcees or single women or family people. Just nice, average people. They're not out there wrecking the economy. Bert's got these macho guys. You've got to be. You can't become the butt of their joke.
No, it's hiding in plain sight.
Roxy
hiding in plain sight.
Roxy entertains the mild.
No, but because I had a sign-artist grandfather.
Right.
Grandfather. I know all these things exist in the outer kingdom.
So she's enhancing her cover story. Yeah.
I can talk about the castles in La Loire or the Louvre, and you can go and see it. It's not something I'm making up.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the brain on the Sistine Chapel. That was fascinating.
What about you, Bart? Your work environment.
This is very straight.
But now, I think even normal people, everybody is exposed to conspiracies. And some people are also trying to make sense of all this information. And they may ask me, what do you think about this? And
I make little conversation actually with the people that I'm with, because the work that I do is mostly sort of independent, but and I don't really have social circles. I've made sort of McLuhan statements or Bob statements about the media and technology and stuff to my wife, and she's she's been intrigued by those things and actually suggesting that they've been accurate statements, but as far as my coworkers, not a lot of conversation there.
Have you dropped Rob's 5 bodies on anybody?
No. That's advanced Bob knowledge. That's advanced Bob knowledge. You have to start with
I dropped it on someone.
Yeah. No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I dropped it on someone one time at a dinner table, because they wanted, they always try to get me to talk German, and I dropped it on them in German, and you should have just saw the reaction, It really just blew.
Without context, it's an intriguing. It is sort of it's an esoteric sort of maybe poetic.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Especially
I haven't really
bring in the chip body. The chip body.
Yeah.
If you bring in the chip body, especially now with everyone using a phone, and you line out the bodies, rolling up to the chip body, and then try to introduce the mystery body, which a lot of people get lost on. But the chip body kind of lines it up for the first 4.
The mystery body, a lot of people get lost on. That's an understatement.
Oh yeah. They get missed on. But if you do that, it just mixes them up a little bit.
The thing when the chart you can take different approach, not only the Mr. Landscape. You can talk about economy or politics or world history and
conspiracy, technology,
or media ecology and James Joyce. Doesn't have to be conspiracy and mystery landscape.
It's a beautiful...
There are many ways to talk about the ionic environment without going into this.
According to the chart,
things. I mean, here I'm talking like this because this is a forum where people are supposed to know about ion and all these things and attention.
You can talk about the chart, the regular people.
I sound even crazier than I will sound in normal.
Hey, you know, Ion spoke about, when I was engaging, they spoke about CERN, but they posted a YouTube on CERN, and there was a helicopter supposedly around CERN that was chasing some type of black orb, and it said a portal opened up. So that's be an interesting question to ask Ion, not to change the subject of what we're talking about, but I just thought about that, of like weird things that are out in the open that may be real, you know. I mean, if Ion posted it, that'll be a good question. I'm going to ask him.
Are you saying that Ion posted a link to that video?
Yes.
Of a helicopter chasing a black orb?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you watch the whole video, Bert?
I watched like 75% of it because it looked like it was a repeat. It kept repeating when it started. When I saw it, did the second repeat, I said, okay, they just took like a 2-minute video and just keep replaying it like most of the YouTubes.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it, Eliza?
No, I have the link up, the YouTube up, so as soon as I get a moment, I'm going to watch it.
This is posted today?
Yes.
Yeah, when we were talking about CERN.
Talking about CERN, they posted that.
A lot of people are blaming CERN for the Mandela effect.
Oh.
But I don't...
But
I mean, just...
Weren't you going to play something? Like...
Oh, Roxana's asking for it, Bob.
No,
yeah, it'd be nice to hear some news.
I was like, why am I here? He was supposed to play something new, so...
Yeah, this is always
the best time. Your story. I want Roxana to finish your story. She's finished it. We're up to date, so now I'm ready to play.
All right.
So get your thinking caps on. Get your notebooks out. Sit back and listen to Bob wow you with his interrogation of Ion, with Carolyn playing bass. Or vice versa. Get ready for this one. This is good. This is we were listening to some rewrite last year, old rewrites, and we got some questions. We said, we need to develop that. It never got developed in rewrite. So we have a whole bunch of questions.
Crowded? Not comfortable.
What's that? What was that? So this is us taking an old rewrite thing that we had thought, we should ask Alan that. And it took almost a year to get around to doing it. But it's about, we say what it is, Revelation. The cloud is referred to in Revelation, so we start with that. I just want to say to James Poosty, he says Tom Fowler talks about Zappa stealing from Mahavishnu. Yes, I know that anecdote. I just was reading it or rereading the other day. But that is Fowler's impression. What was Zappa doing? He heard it. We don't know how much he heard, but he was able to write up ideas from it. I don't call that stealing. He was inspired by what they were doing to make whatever he did. Because he didn't make Mahavishnu sounding stuff. So I don't agree that he stole from Mahavishnu. He saw, these guys are doing that. He probably thought of doing the opposite to them, a counter environment. Okay, James. So James saying, no, yeah, I know about the Fowler story. So look at Zappa, how he shows it in 200 Motels. He writes down what Ringo's writing down what he hears on the radio, and then pours coffee on, smears it up, changes it. He doesn't just write it down and play it. He fucks with it. It's just it's like, I tell him some words, we'll talk. Give me some words, I'll talk. So Mahavishnu was, I'm not stealing your words when I answer them. So he hears Mahavishnu, he says, oh, they're doing this and that. What can I do that would be different from that? So you got that, James? You're cool with that, right, James? We'll see. Keep your eye on the chat line. So here we go. Mute everybody. So that was an excellent conversation the past, 6 hours, 7 hours. Very long contribution to the Zappa scene. Very long. And Sarah's on there making all kinds of claims. She could do this, she could do that. Well, that's true. So here we go. Mute everybody.
All participants are now muted.
Soundflower is up. Soundflower. Got to find the Soundflower. Where is it? There it is. So, output, Soundflower. Make sure the volume is up. I think that's it. Could it be anything? Skype is clear. Okay, so this is from December 26, 2016. So,
we're looking at questions that we gathered on the rewrites, and back in rewrite number 5, we had some questions.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Revelation 14, verses 14, 16, it says, and he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. My question is the cloud, this chapter 14 Revelation, is it referring to the ion cloud, which is different from...
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Right, now I think you said that
it's where the Lamb stood on Mount Zion.
And the Lamb would refer to...
The perfect Lamb,
Right, the one that would be you'd use as a sample of perfect blood. It's not a symbol of a...
That is a symbol. That's a smear. That's a schmear. It's like a jelly quana on a bagel, on an everything bagel. It's like a jelly schmear. The blood smear. You got to have the smear. Well, you got to have the smear, otherwise you wouldn't know. Now, Mount Zion is pretty incredible because this brings up the level of the 144,000 having the Father's name. Yeah, it's in their forehead.
Okay.
In the palm of your head. In their forehead.
What is blood?
No, the 144,000. The Father's name, the chosen one written.
Yeah, but the 144,000 is double helix strands.
They are. So it's the lamb blood. The lamb blood is what proves that.
Do you put the lamb's blood, rub it on your forehead? You say it's in your forehead. So, we don't know why you're bringing it
on the forehead. Yeah. Well, we're telling you. And you heard a voice from heaven. It's the voice of many waters, and a great thunder, and a voice of the harpers singing with their harps. Pretty cool. This is that edging of coming in the face where...
See, you haven't clarified...
Yeah, the forehead. What's the symbol of the forehead in
the
what
third
you're
eye
saying?
chakra. The chakra, the third eye chakra.
That's not a symbol. That's what it is.
Yes, it is. That's what it is.
Yeah, not a symbol.
That's what it is. That's what it says in Revelation 14.
So the 144,000 means that when we have 144,000, we will express our third eye chakra. Is that correct?
That's correct. If you have the smear to prove that you have the Lamb's blood, the one from Mount Zion.
Okay, so you take the blood and smear it on your skin, and something's going to happen to the skin?
No.
Okay, I had to stop it there and move